All right. All right, all right, all right. Here he is. The one and only.
What's up?
Marky Mark. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. Fred.
There's a lot of bromance going on at APIANT, isn't there? Okay, so did you check to see if oh yeah, we are live on on all this platforms, social media platform, on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on Twitter, we're live on YouTube. The question is, are we alive ourselves?
We are
Okay,
in the
cool. So, you want to know what we're doing today?
We're gonna build a Christmas tree.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. We're going to do something really cool today. We're going to work on Intercom.
Sweet. I like it.
Yeah. So I thought this would be really cool because so Intercom, let me just share my screen. So Intercom. Do you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay. So Intercom, a lot of people know about it. It's pretty awesome software. We use it ourselves, and it's basically a chat widget slash means to engage with your customers. So here, I'll just go to their website. I think it's intercom.com. Here it is. So this is Intercom, a huge success. Really, it's basically this little widget here on the bottom of your screen, where your customers can chat with your staff and yourself pretty easily, and it keeps track of conversations and users and leads, and you can automate a lot of that with articles and so forth. Anyway, so that's Intercom. What I have on the right here is a bogus website that I put together real quick using Webflow. Okay, and I just put the Intercom chat on it, just so we can do some testing in a test environment. But what are we trying to accomplish here? Well, one of the issues with Intercom, and really Intercom can't do much about it, is that when people come to your website and they see this nice little chat box here, they may chat with you on here, and then they may get into their car and then go to the office and then try to start a new conversation on their phone. So you could end up with more than one conversations with the same person on Intercom, and that can become problematic. Here she is, Penelope, the one and only. How are you, Pen?
Hello. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm great.
No worries. No worries at all. So we were just talking about what we're going to do today. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some automations with Intercom, because these are automations that we actually use for our team, and we found them to be very helpful. So I just give a quick recap of what Intercom is. But let me describe the problem first. So in the Intercom, so I'm going to open two browsers here. So this is one browser for this bogus website that I put together. Here I call it the cool website, and then I'm going to open another one with Firefox. Okay, and my cool website. Oh, this is Firefox. Oh, okay. So this is Firefox. This is Brave. Okay, so so this is Firefox. Let me open a brand new one in, I don't know, Safari. Okay, and like any web technology, if you use a different browser, there's a good chance it's not going to be the same cookies. Therefore, they can end up being two different users, right? So that's an issue. So what does this look like? So first, let me recreate the issue, and then I'm going to show you how APIANT can help you solve the issue as an Intercom person. So here I am in Intercom. Okay. And this is a development site for Intercom. So this is not our live one. And right now I have no chats. Okay. So I'm going to come here on, there's Safari and Firefox. So essentially it's the same person connecting to my website in two different ways. So here say, hey, have a look around. I'm going to say, hi, this is Fred. Okay. So here's the conversation shows up here. Intercom doesn't know anything about me, right? So it called me Turquoise Shark from Doylestown. Wow, it knows I'm in Doylestown. That's awesome. And I say, hi, this is Fred. And I'm going to say, oh, I have an email. So let's give it an email. So we'll call it Fred, Fred December 17th A at APIANT.com. Okay, so I'm going to use this email here. Okay, and it's going to say you'll be notified when, you know, whatever. So now it has my email in here, and I'm a user, and I'm what you call in Intercom a lead. So there's two types of contacts in Intercom. There are leads and users. Okay, so this is a lead. But now I'm going to my office. I'm saying, wow, I really like this company. I really want to continue the conversation. I'm going to say, this is Fred again. So now it's going to start a different conversation here, right? So you can see this is Fred again. Okay. No email. So this is a completely different lead, right? This lead right here had that email. This lead, completely different lead. This is Fred again, and it's going to say, oh, it wants my email. And I'm thinking, oh, that makes sense. I was at home when I started the conversation. I went to the office, different computer, different browser. It doesn't know it's me. But most likely, if I give them the same email, they're going to know it's the same person, right? That's what you would think. So, so now I have two leads, right? I have the first lead here, the second lead here. There are two different leads with the same email. So that can be, you know, with two people, it's easy to say, oh, it's the same person, fine. But there's no tool, at least that I know of, in Intercom to merge these two together, right? So that's an issue. That's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to build automations. So as an operator, right, looking at this, you're going to be able to say, oh, these are the same people starting two different conversations. I want to merge them together. So all these conversations go into one person. Okay. So that's what we're going to build. All right.
Nice.
You like it?
I like it.
Okay.
I
Good.
love it.
Okay, cool. Well, if Penelope likes it, you know what I say. No fear, pen's here. Okay, so let's do it. So let's just do it. You guys want to do it? Totally stalling as I'm opening another screen. Mark? Right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So let's just go to APIANT. And I'm going to open my sample on the left here so I don't forget. So the first thing is, if you look at the API in Intercom, you cannot merge two leads together, okay? You can only merge a lead into a user, okay? So right now we have two leads. How do I know this? Is because I have a lead here and it tells you right here, it's a lead.
Right.
And I have a lead here. And the difference between a lead and a user actually has, you know, a login on your app, or it's a customer, or, you know, it's kind of like a step above the lead. Okay. So the first thing we're going to have to do, if I want to merge these two together, so most likely one of them became a user by the time you want to merge them, but it's possible that they didn't, if they didn't start a trial and things like this. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to convert one of them to a user first in order to be able to bring all the leads that are duplicated and bring them all into this user. Okay. So how do we do this? Very straightforward. So I'm going to create an automation here, and I'm going to go to the app Intercom. And what I'm going to look for to trigger that conversion from a lead to a user, I'm going to look for a note. So it's basically a command that the operator will put into Intercom. So they never have to go to APIANT. They'll be able to do all of that right from Intercom. So I'm going to say new note on conversation, instant. And since it's instant, it automatically creates the webhook. Everything is taken care of. So you can see that it automatically created a webhook, save. So now we're waiting. So this basically says, anytime a note is written on Intercom, I want this to trigger. Now, I don't want to trigger on any notes. I only want it to trigger when there's a note that includes the command that I want. Okay, Ben, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, does.
Okay. So how do I do that? Well, I have to put what we call a trigger filter into the trigger. Okay, so you can see that I open the trigger. I'm going to say trigger filter. And then, so what field do I monitor to make sure that I know that this is what I want to monitor? And it's the conversation parts, conversation here. So conversation parts. Let me see, which one is it again? Conversation parts body. So right here, it's the conversation parts, this one. So you're monitoring the body of the note, right? And here we're going to say if it contains convert to user, then we're going to trigger it. Okay. So all we did is we said trigger, and then just wait until you see convert to user in the note. And
Right.
the note is basically going to be, let me close that. It's going to be in here, right? The notes are what you add to a contact. That's all internal. The user never sees that because it's yellow. So if it's yellow, no, the user doesn't see it. So you can do anything you want there. You can talk to each other, but you can also write commands like the command that we're going to add right now. Okay. So what do we do if we see that note that says convert to user? Well, we're going to take action. We're going to go back again here and then choose Intercom. And we're going to say convert we're going to say update contact. Sorry, update contact. It's not convert. Yeah. We're going to update the contact. We're going to take the ID from the user ID, right? So here I'm going to click here. I'm going to say, what is the ID of the user? So I can grab that ID here. If I want to search for it, I can just type ID. And it's item user ID, okay? The role that we're basically updating the contact from a lead to a user. So here I'm going to type user as the role that we want to change, right? And the email for that user is going to be the email we got from the lead. Okay. And the rest is fine. Okay. So if they don't enter an email, you can't convert them because you need an email to be a user. So you notice that when I came here, it said, hey, can you give me your email? In Intercom, you can actually build bots that automatically capture this information: first name, last name, email, phone number, whatever you want. So this will fail if there's no email. So one of the things you could do is you could always add a trigger filter here and email is not empty. Because otherwise it'll execute it and then it'll fail. It'll say, I can't create a user without an email. So we may as well put that in there. Okay. Okay, good. And that's it. That's all you need on this automation to convert a lead to a user. Okay. I'm going to click save and you'll see that this auto populates with what we've done. So I'll just click save. When Intercom new note on conversation instant, then Intercom update contact. So I could rename that. So when I'm just going to rename this convert lead to user in Intercom. Convert Intercom. Okay, so, and I'm going to put this in our Intercom demo folder, and I'm going to turn it on. There you go. So now we have to wait. So now, Mark, first question. How do I convert this lead, and you can tell it's a lead right here, to a user?
Right. So in the note, down in the yellow space, you'll type convert to user, which was your key trigger, your keywords for your trigger.
Okay.
So as you hit add note, then it should get picked up.
All right, I'm going to move APIANT to the right here so we can see it happen in real time. Okay. So I'm going to say convert to user. Ready, set, go. Boom.
Okay.
So now this lead, if I do a refresh, is now a user.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, what have you accomplished? You haven't accomplished much. Well, no, what we've accomplished is now we've created a user that we can merge every lead into.
Right.
Okay. So what we need to build next is an automation that does what, Mark? And by the way, for all of those of you thousands of people who are on the webinar right now are wondering, wow, that he's really testing this Mark, and he must have cued him with all kinds of answers. Mark didn't even know what we were going to cover today.
Nope.
I really like to keep it dangerous. So I love to put him on the spot, and he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. So yeah, so we have to give him a break if he doesn't know the answer. Okay, so what do we need to build next, in your opinion?
All right, so we talked earlier about we can't merge two leads. And so now that we've converted a lead to a user, now we can actually merge a lead to a user. So I suspect we're going to do something similar with another automation. By now we are going to say this lead needs to be merged to this user.
Exactly. 100%. So let's do it. So I'm going to create an automation. So it's going to be the same trigger, but a different webhook in this case. Okay. And the other thing we could have done too is we could have had one up, and maybe I should have done that, but I don't want to overcomplicate things. Just APIANT is so powerful. You can just build just so much cool stuff. But
right.
One of the things I could have done is I could have kept one webhook and routed to subroutines like I've shown you last week.
Right.
Depending on what the command is. So you keep one webhook trigger, and then you route. You say, oh, this is a convert lead. This is a merge lead. This is a this is this. So right now I'm creating two separate automations.
Right.
But it could have been one automation with subroutines. Okay.
Right.
But I don't want to overcomplicate things. So here I'm going to just come and say Intercom, and it's going to be the same trigger, right? So new note on conversation. And here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say merge lead into, so it's going to be update lead, right?
Right.
No, it's not. Sorry. It's not update lead. It's merge lead. This is an actual action.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't thinking. All right. So in this case, we're going to merge the lead. So you can look for it, merge lead into contact to a user. Okay. So the from lead, okay, is going to be the ID, and then the to lead is going to be it's going to be coming from the node. So you don't really need where this comes from. What I was trying to do here, I'm going to just save it without it, so it's missing stuff. Okay. What I was trying to do is I was trying to make it error out, just to show you why I need to add 3 new actions above that. Okay. But I'm just going to add them because, but basically the data you're getting from Intercom is not ready to be consumed by the action. Okay. So you need to add 3 actions. So let me just build them first, and I'll try to narrate as I go. So the first one.
Even though the information came from Intercom, it's not going to work in the Intercom action.
Yeah, because the first one is the conversation. Okay, because remember, the ID of the lead we're going to feed is going to be in the notes. Okay, the notes we're going to get from Intercom have HTML in them, so we have to strip the HTML out of that first. Okay, so here I'm going to use the transform data, and we're going to use transform text, and we're going to use strip HTML tags.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we execute it, you'll see what that is. So here I'm going to map the body. Okay, so the parts body, which is the note basically. Okay, so conversation parts body. Okay, so I'm going to strip the HTML tags. Right, I can just keep that from note. It'll make sense when we execute it, because you'll see when you look at the note, you'll see what happens. Actually, if we go to, right, let me go to the previous execution and show you what a note looks like when it comes through. Right, so when this came through, when we did our previous test, you can see here that, so what was it called? It was called the find convert. Right. So you see this convert to user? We were just looking for convert to user. So that worked, right? But when you're going to try to, when you're going to want to parse that data, you want to extract a user ID, this is going to get in the way. All the P class, no margin. That's it. So what we need to do is we need to strip that away from it first. Okay. Right. So this is what this is here. So strip HTML tag. So that's the first part. Then we want to extract the lead ID to, and also what I guess what I omitted to say is what is going to be the trigger. So we forgot to add the trigger here. So here we want to say if the conversation body, oops, sorry, thank you. Right here. So if the conversation parts body contains lead and then those two little dots here, that's what's going to trigger it. So what we're expecting is, in order for me to say, I want to take this lead and merge it into this user, I'm going to have to take this lead ID and then here add a note and just say lead and then paste the ID and boom, it'll do it. Because it needs to know which ones you're merging together. Okay.
Right.
So all it's looking for is lead in order to trigger this automation here.
Right.
Then it's going to strip the HTML from the body, because you saw the body had a bunch of HTML in there. So you want to get rid of that. Okay. And then here, the next step is you want to be able to extract the ID from the body. So the way you do this is we're going to use some JavaScript here. So we're going to say conditional transform data, and we're going to put a little bit of JavaScript. So here's going to be evaluate JavaScript expression, and let me just copy and paste, and I can explain it to you. All right, so the expression looks like this. Okay, here we're going to feed what we have stripped, right? So this is the body without the HTML, okay? All right, so this is the body equals the result of that, okay? Then we're going to establish that the lead ID is the body, right? Substring plus 1. So it's everything after the, by the way, you know, I'm French and I always confuse colon, semicolon. Is this colon or semicolon?
Colon.
Okay, thank you. Semicolon is the one with the comma, right?
Yeah, the next 3 characters over from that colon.
Why don't they just call it dot dot and dot comma? Okay, so getting distracted again. All right, so here the lead ID is basically the body, everything that comes after this. Okay, so if I go back here, it's everything that I'm going to put after this. Is we're going to assume that's going to be the ID. Okay?
Right.
That's what this does. And then the result is the lead ID. So var is, saving the variable, and here we just return the lead ID, right? Which is that calculation. This makes sense, right? I mean, you don't really have to be a programmer to do this. You just have to be a script kiddie, as Robert likes to call me. So strip, extract. I'm going to rename this extract lead ID to merge with, and I make it very explicit. So when I map to it, I know exactly what I'm looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And lead ID to merge with, and I think that should work. I don't know why I had a third one here. Let me see. For some reason, I had a third one that said strip HTML tags. Okay, well, let's try that. So, and then here, we have two leads, right? We have the from lead, which is I'm getting a little confused now. Strip HTML tag value minus HTML, and then new node and covers user ID. Okay, two contact ID. I think that's reversed. Let's try it. So we have two IDs basically to decide which one's who. So the from lead ID, the way I have it in my sample is here, but I'm feeling that the from, oh no, that's correct. Okay, that's correct. So the from lead ID here is basically who's the lead and who's the user.
Right.
Okay, the contact's the user, and then the lead is the one that we identified. So who's the lead? The lead is going to be the output of this, right? It's what we've entered in the note.
Correct.
Okay, and then the contact is where we entered the note.
Correct.
And then here we're just going to say just user ID, and that's it. I think that should be enough. I had a third one, and if this fails, I'll see why I had a third one. I think the third one was extra, but I'm just going to save that. And we're going to put this in the Intercom demo. And I'm just going to rename this merge lead with user with note lead, and then here I'll just put ID. All right, crossing our fingers, put that over here, and let's try it. So again, you know me now, anytime I do a test, I ask myself, what is the exact desired outcome from this test? So I know right away if it worked or not. And sometimes you have to kind of restate it. So here I have a user and I have a lead, but they are both the same person. And so I want this lead to be merged into this user. So when I go to this user, both conversations are into one user, right?
Correct.
So this is the user here, right? See, there's only one conversation.
Yep.
And this is the lead here. So I'm going to open a new tab with the lead. This is the lead, has one conversation, okay? So you have to click on the lead up here in order to be able to get that user ID.
Right.
Okay, so it's not this ID because this is a conversation ID. And let me stretch this out a little bit here. It's not this ID here because this is basically this ID, which is the ID of the conversation. What you want is you want the ID of the user or of the lead. So so I have it right here. let me redo it just to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to click here, new tab, and I'm going to take the user ID up here in the URL. Okay, so our people are very used to doing this. It's very straightforward for them to do it because once you do it, then you never forget it, right? You just copy that.
Right.
And then in here, you say lead and then paste, and that's it. And you add this note, this triggers, and if it fails, it's because I needed that third one and I didn't remember when, but hopefully it won't. I guess it didn't fail. All right, so what did it do? So it got the note. So you can see the note here said, let me see, lead, right? So you can see it had a note with all this extra HTML. You see that right here?
Right.
Okay. And it stripped the HTML. So it only kept lead and then the ID. So it took out all the HTML. This is an action that just recognizes what HTML is and gets rid of it. It extracted the lead from the body. And then here it outputted the lead, and then it merged the lead into the contact. So now if I go here, that lead, if I do a refresh, it'll be this one. Watch this. There you go. They're both the same user now. So if I just go to this user, you'll see both conversations under one user. So we've taken that lead and we've added and we've merged that lead with the user.
Right.
Pretty handy, isn't it?
Yes. Organizing.
Well, and it's important because, I mean, in support and sales or whatever, you just want to kind of keep all these conversations under one. And so if people are contacting you via mobile and their phone and the website and a different computer and all, if you recognize it's the same person, you might as well merge them together so your folks know, hey, this is the same person here. And then you can see all the conversations. So if I just go to this user here, if I go to that conversation and I see here, I respond to that conversation, and here you can see last conversations. You can see the previous conversation. So anyway, so that's it. That's what I wanted to basically show here. Pen, do we have any questions so far, or with our hundreds of thousands of people who are attending?
Not yet. Nope, nothing yet. And I love this integration. It's fun to see because we've been using this for a long time. But it's fun to see what went into it on the back end, and it's really not that much. Super simple.
Right. No, it really is. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is just one app that we've connected to today. We didn't do anything with two apps. We just did one app. Mm-hmm. And we able to use the API to manipulate data within that same application. How many other things or situations could we do with this? We did two here, right? We did a lead converted a lead to a user, and then we merged a lead to a user. But are there other things, in particular with Intercom, that Intercom can't do itself, but we can do by just triggering things within inside Intercom?
You're reading my mind. I didn't even cue you that. That's thank you. Yes, there are. There is another thing. Now, this one, I'm not going to build it, but I'm going to review it with you. We're going to make this session a little early today because at APIANT, we're having a Christmas party right after this. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's a long drive for me to get there.
Champagne's on ice. I'm ready to go. Okay. No, but this is a really good point. And let me show it to you because I'm actually really, really excited about this because this has solved so many problems for us. So let me show you this one here. Intercom sample right here. So this one is an automation. And then Penn, you talked about, you know, being able to see what's behind the scenes. This automation here is between, this one automation does 1, 2, it actually does 3 apps. Well, actually it sends, it also works with HubSpot. But basically this is between Recurly, and I think Recurly is an app that we'll cover at some point, but it's between Recurly and Intercom. And this gets triggered when a subscription is created in Recurly, okay? But one of the problems that we had was that what I've just shown you on how we merge leads and everything, that is great if somebody's able to recognize, right? They're able to recognize, wow, okay, these are the same people. We need to merge them together. What if you have thousands of leads and thousands of users, and we do, and often you can't recognize that this is the same person, right? How do you do it in an automated fashion? Well, I have this thing called dedupe logic here. And let me just kind of open this up here. And so the idea is here, when we get a Recurly subscription, and if it needs an APIANT account, we do that. So this is our internal app, but we need to be able to update Intercom with all of this information, the subscription they have, their trial. We need to update, you know, links to their account in APIANT, links to their, you know, for them to manage their own billing. All of that gets updated into Intercom right down here. But you only want to do this if you know this is truly, you want to reduce duplicates. And if it's the same email, you know it's the same person. So how do we do it? Let me open this up here and take a look at this logic. This is really cool. By the way, in APIANT, something we haven't shown is you can actually group some logic together and then name it. So then you really kind of clean up your view and then just dive in when you want to. So here, I'm gonna open the dedupe logic, and then you see that after this it has a pause for a specified number of seconds. So that's, the pause is down here. So what I've done is I've just opened up everything in that group here. I've opened up all of that right here, okay? Now this, based on last week's demo, this could also be a subroutine, okay? But when I built that, believe it or not, we didn't even have subroutines. So, and that was a while ago. So let me just kind of walk you through it, because I don't want to build that from scratch, because it will give everybody a headache. But it'll make sense when you look at it. So when we're ready to look for a person in Intercom, first we find the contact by email, okay? If there's more than one email coming back, or more than one contact with that same email, our action is going to be able to list all of the people it found with that email. Then here we say found more than one contact. So how do we know this? Is because here is greater than one, total count. We'll have a total count emitted from this action here, find contact by email. Let me see if I can, no, actually I can't do it here. I was going to show you an actual one with execution, but that would be real customer data, and I don't want to show this in the demo. So in our case, for this Fred here, who had 2 emails, and if he was a user with the same email, it would show 2 of them. So more than one contact, we go to the right. If it's not more than one contact, we go to the left, okay? So if it's not more than one contact found, it could be just 1 or it could be 0, right? Let's start with it if we found more or less than, or 1 or less contact. So if it's 1 contact, found single contact, and we know this here because in the condition, it says the total count equals 1, okay? If it found a single contact, here we update the contact, and then we save the user ID. So what do we update the contact with? Well, in this case, I'm updating the contact with the name, and then some custom attribute for the APIANT plan, and then the subscription ID. This is all the account name on the APIANT, okay? And then the plan and everything else. And then later on, I can do some subscription ID. Also, just kind of a note, I'm also converting the phone number right here to E164. So automated dialing tools can recognize the phone number in different countries, and at least it's standardized. If it didn't find more than one contact, it means it found no contact, right? Because it wasn't more than one and it wasn't one. If it's not more than one and if it's not one, it's 0. So couldn't find any contact. So in this case, we add the contact here in Intercom, and same thing. You can see that we have all these fields populated. Okay, but that's not the magic here. The magic is, what if you find more than one? What we decided to do, and that works for our business model, what we decided to do here is, if we have more than one contact, we're going to loop through each contact, and then we're going to combine them all into one. Okay, so how do we do that? So here we loop. So what are we looping against? Here you can see that we loop against the contact email. So this is going to emit an array of contact emails. Okay, so if you found 5 contacts with the same email, we're going to put them all into one. Then here we check row has a contact ID, right? So if it has a contact ID and it's not empty, we know it's a user. Okay, if it's a user, we get the user here, and if we find no other user with the same email, we know it's a single user. If it's a single user, we go ahead and save the user ID. If there's more than one user with the same email, we stop. And the reason we stop here is because if they became a user, there's a very high likelihood that they already have an account. So this is 2 separate accounts with 2 separate users that are using the same email. So here we don't want to combine stuff because that would really mess things up. Okay, so here we save the user. Then here we continue to loop against all of these IDs, all of these emails. And now if the contact is not a user, then it's a lead. If it's a lead, we get the user ID here from above, right? So this is the Intercom dedupe contact email user ID that we saved above here. And user with the same email exists, we merge the lead into a contact. So it's basically what we've done manually, but here we do it programmatically. And if the lead, right, this is merge the lead into user. If the, let me see, merge lead into user, merge lead into contact, right? So this is where we merge them. If user with the same email doesn't exist, then we convert the lead to a user and we save the user and then we pause, right? So basically what we're saying is, if the lead we just found, let's say right here, let's say all we have is a lead with that ID and there's no user, because remember the user is kind of like the upgrade of a lead, right? The user has an email for sure and most likely has a login and all of that. So if we didn't find a user and we found a lead, and then the lead is just by itself, here we convert it to a user. Now, what are we doing here? So potentially you could have 2 leads, right? So when I came here and I said, find contact by email, I could have 2 leads with the same email, but none of them are users. So what would happen in this case? It would come down here. It would skip this because it's not a user. It would come down here and I would say, hey, it's not a user. So it would convert the first lead into a user, right? And then it's going to go back up and it's going to go through the second one. And then the second one is going to say it's still not a user. The second one is not a user. But here it says user with the same email exists. Yes. And that user is now, and that lead is now a user, right? So you had 2 leads, one became a user. Now you merge them together. And it keeps on doing that for all the leads it finds with the same emails. And at the end of it, we end up with 1 user ID. So this is how, so you can see that you can really kind of take this concept of what we've built manually, but you can make it a logic that kind of cleans up your data as transactions are being processed. In this case, we call this logic dedupe logic for Intercom. I know that was kind of complicated, but did that make some sense?
Yes, some sense. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess in summary, all it is it makes sure that if you have more than one contact with the same email, it brings them all together. And that's the logic that does it. So, you could study this more, but basically this is just like writing a program that says, first, let me find how many of those do I find? Oh, I found 3 users. I found 1 user and 2 leads. Okay, well, let's take the leads and merge them into a user. I find 3 leads, or let me convert one of those leads into a user first and then merge the rest. This is basically what this does. But it does it through looping here for users first and then looping through leads here. And it's exactly what this does. On that note, I feel like I need to send you guys some aspirin because I just took you through that. All right. Anyway, that was fun. This is cool stuff, man.
There's definitely lots of things that the platform can do that, you can get as detailed as you want, or you can be as simple as you want, like the first 2 automations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I still want to do this series where we take, I'll share this again and then we can end here. But I want to do this series where we take something like Mindbody to Shopify. Great SEO, by the way. So we take something like this that we've built and we look at, fully automated. So we look at some of those features. And for instance, Shopify sales to Mindbody sales, Mindbody sales, Shopify sales. And then we open those automations and then we break them apart. I want to try to find a way to do this. This would be kind of an advanced kind of series of webinars. But it really, I think, even if you don't grasp 100% of it, I think if we do this well, people can really see, wow, APIANT is so much more than just an integration platform. It's a platform where we can actually build software, because this is what we've done here, right? Shopify Connect 2.0 is basically a bunch of automations together. So when I open it in APIANT, so when I open it in APIANT and I go to Shopify Connect, that's what this right here, all of this functionality that does all these things, right? You can change your settings, sync your sales, sync your products, do multi-sites. All of that is actually just these automations right here. So 11 automations. And that is just kind of crazy to think about, that you've built a full software simply visually. And one of the things that we've done that I really want folks to grasp is we've separated the logic from the settings, right? So if I look at an implementation of this, you can see that a customer that has Shopify Connect 2.0, not only these automations are linked between different sites. This is what multi-site does here. So how do we do multi-site? Is because now these automations are linked between each other, or actually our templates, but also each other. But if you look at, actually that's a bad example. What's another example where I could look at some settings? Oh, actually, I can do this in Dev. And this is the part that really APIANT has departed from your typical integration platform, is this piece right here. And when you're an enterprise, this is the kind of stuff that gets really exciting because you can put the power of how the integration performs back into the user's hand. And the way we do this in this case is you can create settings. So Shopify connects settings. You can see that all these settings right here are actually very easy for you to change. For instance, if I wanted to sync inventory or sync customers, yes or no, right? I can actually change that right here as a user for my particular install, but all these automations and all this functionality remains untouched, right? So this is really cool. And this is kind of what I want to show in one of our demos, because I think enterprise and customers who really have multiple users are going to love this, because they can just give their users simple decisions to make without them having to understand what's behind the scenes here. No user should ever have to look, even though I would like it, but no user should ever have to look at this to decide, how do I want my automation to perform? It would be great if they could just say, oh, you know what? Mind body sales to Shopify, I don't want that. Boom, unchecked, done. And then the automation is going to perform differently because you've unchecked that box. Okay, so this is really, really cool stuff. I want to show this at some point because I really think then when it comes to the integration world, we broke some serious ground here. So then again, I'm a little biased. All right.
Cool.
Pen, are we good?
We're good. I just have a comment. It's not really a question. It's just, we have a lot of really great customer examples of different customers who use, a certain amount of apps that they connect, right? But I feel like one of the best customer examples that we have is us, like the way that we use our own software to run our own business. I just think that I feel so lucky that we have been able to do that, because we would need like 10 times the number of employees that we have if we didn't have our own platform to use.
That's APIANT's best kept secret, or maybe not so best kept, is when people ask me, hey, how big is your company? I always think to answer, you mean how many automations do we have? Because we've got a lot of AI robots doing a lot of work for us. So, but you're right, Pen, is, unlike most plumbers, we don't have many leaky toilets. I don't know if that was
very nice.
Yeah, we serve ourselves well, but you're right. There's so much that goes behind the scenes, at least for us to run our own business, and we use our own platform to do it, and that's what allows us to serve so many customers with so few people. So yeah, that's a really good point. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Yep.
And yeah, I'll see you at the Christmas party, and please don't drink and drive.
All right.
All right, cheers.
All right.